All right, thanks everybody. Thank you for joining tonight. My name's Tori. I'm the Programming and Makerspace Librarian at the Irvin L. Young Memorial Library in Whitewater, Wisconsin. Today we have Jay Bachochan with us, and he is going to be talking about searching for Bigfoot in Wisconsin. So Jay is a family man in the state of Wisconsin. He is a graphic designer, cinematographer, and film editor. Jay founded the Wisconsin Paranormal Investigators in 2007 to investigate and research UFOs and ghosts. Since 2014, he has been on a solo quest searching for the Wisconsin Sasquatch in southeast Wisconsin. In 2019, Jay had produced, filmed, edited, and directed his documentary, Finding Jay, which is streaming on Amazon Prime. And currently, Jay is in pre-production with a follow-up to his 2019 documentary, and this new one is going to be called Finding Jay 2, Through and Beyond the Kettle. So like I mentioned before, today our presentation is going to be streaming live to our Facebook, and the recordings will be available to be viewed on our Facebook page and our YouTube channel. So if you miss anything, if you want to go back and watch something again, or if you want to share this video with someone you think might appreciate it, please feel free to do that. If you are in the Zoom meeting, please feel free to type your questions in the chat. Same thing if you're on Facebook, go ahead and comment with any questions or comments you may have, and we will be taking questions at the 15 minutes at the end of the presentation. We'll be reading those back out loud to Jay and for everyone to hear. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Jay.
All right, thanks, Tori. I appreciate that. Okay, we're going to go to sharing our presentation. All right. Okay, and I just wanted to say thank you, everybody who's tuned in. I take what I do very serious, even though it's the word Bigfoot. I just know that prior to 2013, if you said Bigfoot, you were ridiculed. So further ado, what I'm going to do in this presentation is you get to know a little bit about me, how I got into this, the techniques that I use, and some rules I have of a safe hike, and of course the meat and potatoes of any evidence that I have found here in Wisconsin. So let's get started. I grew up being one of those one of the kids that would actually in summertime sit downstairs and watch these old movies, the King Kong, Godzilla, all the Universal monsters, while everybody was out playing softball or riding bikes. So I was always into this sort of imagination of what could be. Now, did I know if Godzilla or King Kong were really out there? I didn't think so. I thought they were just movies, but I liked having that possibility. And this has been one of my favorite quotes ever, because this is what I do. It's a Galileo quote that all truths are easy to understand once they are discovered. The point is to discover them. And that's really key, because if we don't discover them, how do we really know what the truth is? And that has really set me on a lifelong mission to question everything. And I'm not just saying Bigfoot or ghosts or UFOs or anything like that, but everything in life. I use this to apply in my own life. So that's why I like this quote so much. When I grew up, I believed in ghosts, the Loch Ness Monster, definitely UFO. Roswell, I was a really big fan of it. But Bigfoot, honestly, up until 2013, Bigfoot to me was a hoax. And why? Because it's the same general question everybody has. Where's the body? Every single photo that you see is blurry. Why aren't there clear pictures? Why isn't there, this evidence to support that Bigfoot is real? And if Bigfoot is real, is there more than one Bigfoot. You know, everybody just thought this Bigfoot ended up on the Pacific Northwest side, you know, California and Oregon and up there. But yeah, I thought, no way, this is a big time hoax. But yet I still believed in Loch Ness monsters, you know, aliens and ghosts. In 2007, me and my wife formed a paranormal team called Wisconsin Paranormal Investigators. We had a team of about 10 people, and this is what we wanted to do. This was kind of our mission, not just the tagline, hunt the truth, but it really is like that saying is to discover the truth. And that's what I wanted to do. You saw Taps on TV or Finding Bigfoot or a lot of these other shows, but we really didn't know what was out there. We wanted to go out there and discover for ourselves. Well, during that time of the paranormal investigating, near the end of it, since I live a hop, skip, and a jump away from Bray Road, we took it upon ourselves to start investigating Bray Road with the Beast of Bray Road. So I got to know Linda Godfield real well, and you could patrol it, but it's definitely a privately owned. I don't ever suggest anybody to drive down it, get off of it. The road, like the picture I'm showing here, this is at the very end of it, so I'm not trying to be a hypocrite. But I don't get off the roads. They're farmer roads, and it's just best to just stay on the public road, which is you can do. And we'll get into that a little bit. Because I was researching the dog man, I actually was, you know, contacted by Travel Channel in search of monsters. I was on that. Small Town Monsters was coming up here to film, and I was in the Bray Road Beast. And really, I was doing kind of the ghost, kind of getting into the cryptid side of it. And we started really patrolling Bray Road. And that doesn't mean just getting off to investigate, but to actually drive it to see if we could capture anything. Well, one of these turns from Bray Road, we ended up in the Kettle Moraine one night. And this was the first time we were out there was October of 2013. And when we were out there, it was in the dark. And this is a part in my documentary, which I'll get into in a second. But we heard something that was so compelling because it sounded like a cross between a human, a primate. You know, I always say I'm no Outback Jack, and I don't know every animal's sound, but you know, we did our due diligence and we actually did some research and listened to some soundboards of all the indigenous animals in southeast Wisconsin, and we could never find a match to that. So I was able to catch a little bit of a clip to it, which is in my documentary. But from that point on, I'm like, well, it didn't really sound like a dog, a canine, a wolf. It sounded more ape-like. And that made me start to question a little bit about this whole Bigfoot thing. So my first 5 years, I actually put into a documentary, which I was not planning on doing. People ask me all the time, were you filming this to be a documentary for, you know, almost 5 years? And I'm like, no, I just document everything. I take video of everything. I take photos. People that have gone out with me know that you know, that's what I do. I just take pictures all the time. But I like to document with audio and everything like that. And it was back in 2017 where I'm like, I've got to tell my story of kind of what I've gone through. I was not trying to do this for fame, for fortune. I mean, definitely on Prime, it's peanuts. Basically, I wanted to put the truth out there and let the viewer decide from my experiences, is there any validation to that? And that's basically why I put that out. This here, oops, this here I'm about to play is the trailer to my film Finding Jay, which is on Amazon Prime. My name is Jay Bachochin. I'm an investigator in Wisconsin who's searching for the truth. I've investigated ghosts. I've investigated UFOs. I even took a crack at solving an unsolved mystery. But all of that was put on hold just because of one night in the Kettle Moraine. Over there, left. Could it be Bigfoot? Does Bigfoot even exist? All I know is that something mysterious roams these woods, and I want to know what it is. Join me on my 5 years of research of 20 different people. Explain it, Eric.
I can't.
Explain how it's following us.
Why is that dangerous?
What could have done it? What could have thrown those rocks?
Lights and my Mars lights, overhead lights, and I hit my spotlight on it, and what I saw was a big surprise.
A sound of something coming through the trees, and there was a thunk right at our feet, and we realized that a rock had been flung from the woods to land precisely between us.
What the hell was that?
What is it?
If it hit him, it meant to kill him.
300 minimum?
Yeah, it's a big rock. Let's look.
Because I'm just trying to get past him. We're running for our lives at this point, and you hear right behind us, BAM!
This hill is where I heard the thump, not far off from where I'm standing.
I set out on a journey. A journey of mysteries.
Do you see it? There's two!
A journey of adventure. A journey to find the truth. Because all truths are easy to understand once they are discovered. The point is to discover them, to find them. Or will they find me? Okay, so that is my trailer for Finding Jay, which is on Amazon Prime. And, you know, I always say a lot of people think it was a little bit too hyped up for such a documentary, but this is something that I really wanted to share, and I was trying to gain everybody's interest. So I'm going to just start off with a few things. I've got 3 rules that I do when I go out to hike. A lot of times people ask, well, what do you do when you go out squatching? And I say, I don't squatch. I hike. And legitimately I do. I go out and observe. And I try to get out as much as I can just to observe what the woods has to offer. And honestly, if we're not out there, how do we really know? So my first rule is always safety first. You never go out alone. And why? You know, you can get lost. You got to know the predators out there, the wildlife. I've got some scary people there. And yes, that's one of the big concerns, is because you don't know who you're going to run into out there. Not Bigfoot, not Dogman, but maybe just some weird people. And just like David Blotty's book here, The Missing 411, these things happen. And I take safety extremely serious here, because I alert to whoever I go out with. And whenever I get to my location, actually the trustworthy person would be my wife. She doesn't go out with me. I text her what location I'm at, what time I arrived, and what time I left, just in case anything was to happen. We have a little safety measure of where I was. And another one of my safety is you can't go out there blindly. You got to protect yourself. Okay, well, I'm not having John Rambo come out with a machine gun and following me to protect me. Let's be serious. But I do carry my survival knife, machete, bear spray, and a 2500 lumens flashlight. Now you're going to say, well, what good is a flashlight, as a weapon? Well, I'll tell you, when we're out there at night, you blind some attacker or some predator, you have that upper hand. So I take everything I can into measures of protecting myself, except a firearm. And I do have a reason for that, and I'll get into that in a little bit. There's other safety measures you want to take when you're going out there, especially during the spring and summer months, is the ticks and the mosquitoes, and because they can cause diseases. You don't want them. I hate them. I definitely load up on this stuff over the summer when I go out there, but that's another form of safety. Definitely bring out I can't stress enough, water, something to eat, that's fine. But I always say, bring a real compass. Don't rely on your phone. You can get bad signals in different areas where you go out, and you want to make sure that you have a compass. And I do carry an extra power bank for my phone. Actually, I carry 3, because I'm always like, oh, if I get stuck out there, you know what, I have enough power for a couple days to help locate me. And of course, a first aid kit. Now, you got to know your surroundings. I have several areas that I go to that I know like the back of my hand now. But when I was first there, I really didn't know. And you could easily get yourself turned around, or if you're out there observing, you don't want to be hiking and then find out you're right butted up next to a camp where there's a bunch of people, where you're thinking, well, I'm out here observing. Is Bigfoot possible? Listen to all this noise over here, and you find out, it's somewhere where you didn't know where you were going. So know the area, know the trails, know the wildlife out there. And if there's any hikers, joggers, bikers, anybody on horses, snowmobiles, any of those things, and know your landmarks, and especially know the rules and regulations, because the last thing you want to do is come face to face with this guy. And honestly, this is a great time to say it, because it's near deer season, gun deer. And, I stay away from the woods during that time out of respect for the hunters as well, going out there to do it. But when I am out there, even not during hunting season, I do wear bright colors. I actually have reflectors on the back of my backpack. And I want to be seen, because a lot of times people want to get all into camo when they're out there trying to, if they're looking for Bigfoot or doing research or something like that. I want to be seen. I want to be found. And that's the bottom line. There's a rogue hunter out there who's not supposed to be out there. I don't want to be mistaken as anything else. But here's my final third rules of a successful hike, is to have some fun. And I guess you kind of have to do that a little bit when you're doing what we do. But when we're out there, we do. You have a good time. It's not something serious where you're hunting wabbit or anything like that. I always say, I like just have some good old fun. So now that's my 3 rules to going out. Now I've got some equipment and techniques that I've used over the years. And if you talk to a lot of people that do this type of research, they just keep getting more and more higher tech with different equipment. And that's I started really slow, and I started adding on throughout my research. And so, I bring my iPhone out there. I do have a body cam on. I actually have 2 body cams now, one for my backpack, one for the front. Flare thermal, H1N zoom audio with a shotgun mic. I've got night vision binoculars, my tripod. I've used trail cams, and then of course my flashlight. So I always say, you know what, does that look cool? You're out there, you mean business when you're out there, because you're gonna catch something. But honestly, over the past, since end of 2013, when I first started this, I'm starting to feel like a Borg, a robot. I am honestly feeling like I have too much technology between me and nature. There's this barrier, and it's kind of a double-edged sword because I'd love to prove it to my wife, my kids who see their dad or husband go out there and do this. Also, there's a lot of people that have followed me, but I'm not out there trying to prove to the world that Bigfoot exists. Not anymore. I'm evolving, and so I'm really thinking a lot about just stripping away a lot of the equipment, maybe just having some audio, and that's it, and just try to enjoy the nature part of it, the nature observation. Okay, so when I do go out there, and if you look way out there beyond where my hands are, you're going to see a raccoon and possum laugh at me. Maybe not. But I always say, if you're going to go out there and you're researching and you're looking for an animal, you're looking for a gorilla, you're going to bang on trees and howl. I'm not going to knock the researchers that do it that way. I know finding Bigfoot really started a lot of that, and a lot of people kind of go off that. But I really don't know what banging on trees means, because I did start doing that way in the beginning. And after getting a rock thrown at me, I started thinking twice about it. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to go in there and treat them like people, because that's what I think they are. So that's why when I go out there, I am looking into the woods. I am, even though I can't see them, I'm giving hand signal gestures. I'm talking to them. And yes, I do play music. I'll put up my iPhone and do a little say anything, nice, cool song on it. And then I also remain silent. We also do talk a lot. The biggest thing is just wait and have patience. And that's what I try to do. That's actually where I got the term finding Jay. It's, I always say, I don't think we'll ever find Bigfoot, but I think Bigfoot will find us. And Bigfoot will find Jay. That's where finding Jay actually came from. And just to wait and have patience with it. So here's some experiences, encounters, because I don't just go out during the day, I go out as well at night. So this is kind of the meat and potatoes of maybe why you're tuning in to see here. And by the way, that face there, that's not a made up face. Something was creeping up right next to us, and I heard it until we stopped to do a testimonial. And then it was right next to us. And that it gets kind of spooky, even though I'm trying to greet and talk to them. When it's dark, it's the unknown. So here's some footprints. The one on the left is the first ones that I found in 2014 in February, 17 and a half by 6 inch with a 53-inch stride, no drag mark. This was when I still was trying to debunk or try to prove that Bigfoot maybe didn't exist, that it was, just Harry and the Hendersons or someone's delusions. But those are actual prints that we could not debunk. And I followed 12 of them and they just disappeared, which is even weirder. And then the ones on the right here was several years later, 3 years later. And we found this one, and that was 18 inches by 6, and it was actually about 3 inches deep in the mud. And yeah, as you can see, the guy next to him right now, that wasn't me, that was another hiker. I think he wears a size, he's a big guy. I think he wears size 16, so it's pretty big here. Okay, so besides seeing that, right after finding these prints, I had rocks thrown at us. So I'm going to play this video here. This is really intriguing because I still, at this point in 2014, that I wasn't sure if Bigfoot existed. I'm going to play the video here. So this was with me and Sanjay. We're in Southeast Wisconsin. We were experiencing rocks being thrown at us during our hike through the woods. This lasted for a couple minutes. Then they stopped. So I pick up a rock and throw it out here. And listen what happens after I throw the rock. it's going to hit me again because I threw a rock. What is that?
That was not an acorn.
Okay, so with that, it was rocks being tossed at us as we were coming down that path you see there. And they were just like onesies, twosies, but it was weird because they were always by our feet. And this is the time where we were kind of coming down the hill a little bit and the rock stopped. And I was like, okay, what's going on? I'm actually thinking maybe there's somebody out here, but I don't know how they're moving, you know, close to 150, 200 yards with us in that terrain without us hearing it. So I thought I'd just throw a rock out and do that. And that's where I get in back. And if you really listen, the velocity, the distance, it was far back there. So, and it landed by my feet. People say, did you pick up the rock? And I think it, you know, in the moment, the heat of the moment, I just I didn't because I was in disbelief. But I do remember seeing the rocks by my feet. I didn't film that because I kind of moved and ducked out of the way, but I remember seeing them. That was really intriguing. Oops. Also, while we're out there, and I know this, we don't have smell-o-vision here. That's what I tell people, even if I do this live. You're looking at Chris Tipton, somebody who is a kind of an open skeptic when it comes to this, because he's the same way. Is there something? Is there not? But this was truly remarkable. There it is. There it is.
That's
Here, let me see that light. What do you got?
I got a smell of rotten
Tell
flesh.
me.
I got a smell of what I'm calling rotten flesh, musty, rotten flesh, and it seems to move with us.
Yeah, this is bizarre.
We'll go 30, 50 yards and not smell anything, and then we'll catch a whiff of it, small whiff of it. We'll go another 25, 50 yards, and it's a much stronger smell.
Yeah, and
it's been 500-600 yards now.
can you smell that now?
I smell it.
Yeah, I smell it.
And it seems to be.
What I like about this is Chris and I were talking over each other. And as you can see, I'm always filming. This was not for my documentary, even though that does show up in my documentary. I was filming it for a testimonial of right there. What is going on? We've never experienced anything like that. No wind. There's always air current, but there was no wind. You could hear everything. It was so quiet, and yet the smell just seemed to either be there in the wall. You just walk into it. You can walk out of the wall and walk back into the wall, but the wall's not there anymore, and it doesn't smell anymore. We have never been able to give. Nobody's ever been able to give us a good reason to believe that it wasn't just a dead animal out in the woods. I mean, yeah, it's the woods. There's going to be things decaying all the time. Even small mice in a house, if they die in your wall, smell. So I can imagine it would really smell like that. But how is the smell moving with you? Very intriguing. Oops. There it is. There. Okay. And, you know, if it isn't a smell, if it isn't footprints, it is actually walking in the woods in the dark and having a tree pushed over right where you were standing. If anybody remembers the first Ghostbusters, where in the library in the bottom, where the three Ghostbusters are kind of going through the maze of the library, and all of a sudden the bookshelf falls, and they look at each other saying, has this ever happened to you before? And Ray Stantz is like, nope. Well, that was kind of like us. We were just in this spot. We might have walked maybe 10 feet and stopped again. And then a tree gets pushed down right behind us. Take a listen.
So this I'm curious myself about. Were you drawn to a certain area, or did you hear something? Because you guys were both very focused off to the left.
I was just standing there looking behind. I wanted to see what might have been creeping up on us, quite honestly.
Okay.
Right.
And then that's when you heard the crashing, and it sounded like a stump or a log come crashing through the trees, almost as if
Okay, so it might, I don't know how well that came over. It was a lot louder than what that even sounded like, even the recording. And it was we always say a butt pucker moment because it was to our backs and it just came from nowhere. Do trees fall in the woods? Absolutely. It was just too coincidental and there was no wind. So a lot of these things are, you know, could be by speculation because people said, did you see a Bigfoot knock over a tree? Did you see a Bigfoot throw rocks at you? Did you see a Bigfoot leave prints? No, no, no. But a lot of the behavior is the same all across the country and the world. We've had trees knocked over in a path. There was one time with me and Chris. We're probably a good, we're probably about 100 yards from this area. And all of a sudden, we heard a loud thump in an open area, not in the woods, but just in an open area. And as we kept walking, we find this down tree. Coincidence? Again, did we see the tree fall? It looked like it was, the ball root was still really dry while it was wet everywhere else. So it's almost like it just happened. There's no way to prove that, but at the same time, these are the weird things that happen when you go out. I've seen different tree structures out there. I mean, a lot of times people talk about the X's and they talk about bent trees. I really don't know where I stand with all that. I mean, at first everything was Bigfoot art or Bigfoot this or Bigfoot. And the thing is, again, I'm trying to be open-minded about a lot of things. I really don't know because if you're looking at the structure here, if you look at it up close, it's weird. It's made weird. And what I mean by that is, you can't see this picture too well, but there's some like intricate little sticks put in parts that have no use to the structure of this. So I was almost calling this Bigfoot art. It's big enough for somebody to get into or whatnot, but a lot of people would look at that and immediately go to a deer blind. And, by all rights, if you look at different deer blinds, you're going to see that some are similar, but the way this thing was constructed, it was crazy. But that was just another weird thing that we have found out there. Something you'll see in my documentary that I go into a lot more are these beady laser red eyes that was 3 of us out there, 2016, and I didn't see him at first. Brian says, just look, just focus out there. And sure as anything, he was looking on the right-hand side. I couldn't see the right ones. I could only see the 2 left ones, and they just popped up one after another. Now, I call them eyes because my mind is matrixing what I'm looking at as eyes. I don't know what's behind them. People would say, is that Bigfoot? Is that Dogman? Is it? All I know is that we saw them and people said, well, did you go right to video? Did you go to your thermal? No, I didn't. And I always say that's a rookie mistake, but I think it's a common thing that sometimes happens when you're out there doing it because you're caught in that moment. You're looking at this with your eyes and you're trying to make sense of what you're looking at. Are you in danger? Is this threatening? Are they getting closer or what? This is fascinating. And so I didn't get any thermal and I had all that on me. So I could go back and say, rookie mistake, Jay, don't do that again. And I could do that 100 times more after the next several years. But that was really intriguing and nothing really happened to that. They just kind of looked at us. And I say, look, because they'd go out one by one by one, gone. Never to come up. And this was on our way out too. I had a sighting back, and this will be in my documentary, so I won't go into detail too much with this, but I just want to give you an average size of what I saw. Where I'm at right now is a point of view where I saw my sighting. And if you can see, I think that's Mary Marshall standing there. I think she's like 5'6". And we're trying to do this for scale. That's 80 yards that we're looking at right there. And what I saw was about that big compared to her. And the only way I could judge that is because it really took up a lot of that snow area back there. And it was auburn in color. And I really couldn't tell if it was on four, if it was bipedal. It was very, very crazy looking. And I had my 4-year-old daughter out at the time, and we weren't even investigating. We were just doing, people go out there, hike all the time, and do what they're going to do. And I'm not going to let my daughter be scared of the woods, and I'm not going to take her out at night. I'm not going to use her as bait, as a lot of times people say. That's just ludicrous. It's crazy. I was just taking my daughter out, daddy-daughter hike, and this was on our way back that this happened. So I don't know if we were followed back or really what it was, but all I know is it moved like a blur from that area. I'm looking at it, boom, off to the left. It moved about as fast as, I tell people, if you're gonna swat a fly, and on how fast they move before the fly swatter gets there. It was a very fast movement. So in that same location, in January, this is Mary Marshall and I were sitting on a big stump at the top of a kettle, the 300-foot kettle, looking down at that tree structure that I showed you there. Just to see, and this was at night, and there was snow on the ground, and you could see like an animal out there. It was the coolest thing. You didn't need any flashlights. She was looking over to my left. I was looking over her right. And we're just getting situated. It was cold, but you're just getting situated. And all of a sudden I see kind of what you're looking at here. I describe it as a monkey, but I was trying to put it more into words. It reminded me of an oversized string bean type of chimpanzee. And he was kind of in not in a total crouch position where his butt's on the ground, but almost like on all fours. But here's the weird thing, is he was kind of sitting there, and I'm looking at it. My eyes are already adjusted. I didn't have any flashlights on to cause that. All of a sudden I see this thing, just the way it is right there, move behind the tree and bushes as if it was on a cart with wheels and somebody just pulled it. Very, very crazy. And of course, I'm not recording at the time. I was recording audio, but again, that was a sighting that I can't take back. It's, it's something for me to always see in my mind. And I think that's what kind of keeps me going with this. So with that, a lot of people are saying, well, are you gonna do another Finding Jay? And I'm like, oh, no, I don't think so. I just wanted to put my story out and hopefully to get contacted again by other people that have witnessed or I saw my film and said, okay, well, this guy Jay probably would believe me. So why don't I contact him? By contacting me, it's like it's a form of validation, I think, for both parties, even myself, because there's a lot of times that I keep stopping saying, maybe I am crazy, maybe I am just chasing shadows. But with this, in the past, since the 2017, I have come across so many different odd things out in the woods, and we're talking about lights. There's so much. That's how come Finding J2 is going to be called Beyond the Kettle. I'm not really leaving the kettle. We're just going to go beyond the kettle. Does that make sense? I hope it does, because that's what I'm trying to do. It's like I want to go beyond the kettle while I'm still in the woods. And I'm currently in production with that and should be ready to go to view again. I don't know what if it's going to be Amazon Prime or if what I'll do is if my links and everything, or if my website will keep everybody updated. But one way or another, this film will happen, and that I'm projected to come out in spring of 2022, as I always say. So I say, question everything. Don't accept any answer. Just go out and hunt the truth. Now, I know I put that in quotes and made myself like Abraham Lincoln there. I'm sure people do this all the time, but this is what I always tell people at the end of one of my presentations, or if I see them in person, and they call me a nut job, I always say, you know what? Go out and discover it for yourself, because you could believe me or you don't believe me. At this point, it's kind of a moot point. I am just trying to share what I have learned, what I have encountered. And if people don't believe it, but want to and want more hard evidence, then go out and discover for yourself. And I think you will find it. So I want to thank you guys for listening to me go through my spiel here. My documentary is out, if you haven't seen that, on Amazon Prime, and you can check it out. So, I mean, at this point, I can take any questions. I can get out of this share screen here. Stop share. There we go.
Thank
That
you,
better?
Jay. We did have a few questions come in. I want to encourage anybody who's watching on Facebook Live to go ahead and comment with your questions. Same thing if you're in the Zoom meeting, go ahead and type in the chat. Or if you would like to ask your question out loud, you can raise your hand and I can take you off mute and you can ask your question. So the first question we got is, what music do you play for Bigfoot? What music do you think Bigfoot likes?
Oh, well, you know what? Since I really don't know, my thing is that I always say, music calms the beast, right? So I didn't want anything too rocking. I'm an 80s guy too. And believe me, I've got some real cool 80s tunes to put out there. But I didn't. There's a song called, I got to find out the name of it. It's called Coyotes. Actually, Chris Tipton told me about this. And it's kind of it sounds like a cowboy just playing his acoustic guitar by the fire and talking about coyotes, and it's really mellow, and it's a song that I'll just kind of play here or there, just I don't know, just to be soothing, because I figured it soothes me, maybe it soothes them. I don't know. I'm hoping one day that maybe there'll be a result from that.
The next question we have is, have you researched any other paranormal things in Whitewater?
As a matter of fact, in Whitewater, I have been around that area, let's say, and the paranormal wise, no, not really the paranormal or ghost side of things. It's been more dogman, Bigfoot related around the Whitewater area. And let's just say it's real. Yeah, I can say that. You can believe it for what it is, but there are reports in that area. I haven't really put them out. I know Linda Godfrey, she is the hub for the dog man out here in Southeast Wisconsin, and she's written a lot about it. I recommend to read some of her books and those encounters, because Whitewater is definitely a part of it.
Do you think that they are able to cloak and disappear, Bigfoot?
That's always the age-old question, because I could say Bigfoot exists, but really what is a Bigfoot then? And I think that's really what it comes down to, because if people think they are ET aliens, why not be able to have that type of technology to cloak? At the same time, and this is my opinion, is I believe they're like the first people, and that they are able to use their surroundings, their environment, almost like what we should hear physically in this room, but we can't because we're stymied by the technology. So we're not using our capabilities. So I do believe they do cloak in a way of saying they could be standing right in front of you and they could just be blended in with the trees like Predator, because I have seen shimmers out there, and I'm not saying shimmers in a human form, but a circle form. Some people say, well, maybe it's a portal. Well, I don't know. I've never seen a portal before either, but it was shimmering, and maybe that's part of what they can do. Or is it something that they can do to control what we think. Maybe they're putting something out to where they're standing right there, but they're putting something as a barrier where we can't see them. Don't know that for sure, but I do believe they have some sort of cloak.
The next question is, what is the closest thing we have to a Patterson-Gimlin film in Wisconsin, or a Sierra Sounds type audio?
The closest thing as in just recaptured. If I'm understanding that question correctly, because I don't think anything will ever beat the Patterson film. There are a lot of good films out there, but again, if you go on YouTube, you don't know what's real, what's fake, what's hoaxed, and that's where I always try to back away from those things and say go out and discover for yourself. But there are, where I research right now, the vocals aren't as big as the Sierra Sounds, like Ron Moorhead's, out there. But I did hear something very close to an Ohio howl that I captured back in July. It was, again, by distance, maybe a mile away, but it was the coolest thing ever. And I did record it. So I actually have somebody out in New York working on the audio to try to bring that out a little bit, but it was definitely a cool thing.
How do you think they interact with other animals in nature? Where do they fit on the food chain?
I believe that they are, when I say apex predator, it makes it sound like they're mean and they're gonna eat whoever's there. And I don't think that's the case. I think they would be like us. How would we get our food? I think there's symbiotic relationship out in the woods that they understand, kind of like the Lion King. I'm sorry to use Mufasa in this, but it's kind of like they understand it's a circle of life. You're out here, we're hungry, we're going to survive. We'll let those live, and kind of like that. But at the same time, people start talking about those missing hikers in all these other national parks. I've never met a one-on-one here in the Henderson experience. But I could believe that if they're, if they could be, I always say if they could be angry or mad, they could maybe take people out or anything like that. But I don't like to think that, because I'm like, hey, you know what? Almost 8 years doing this, and I still have my head to tell the tale. But yeah, so I mean, as far as the food, sorry to get off on that tangent a little bit, I think there's that relationship to where they probably just, eat some of what they find, or the dead ones, or whatever like that. My opinion.
Thank you. I'm not seeing any more questions come in. I want to remind everyone, I know a few people did join the meeting a little bit late. This presentation was recorded, and it's going to be available to view on the library's YouTube channel and our Facebook page. So you can go back and watch any parts that you missed, and feel free to share this with anyone you think might be interested. Jay, if anybody wants to connect with you, can they do that through your website?
Yeah, definitely on the website. You can go to jbachochin.com. You can contact me through there. I do have like a report it link on there, and I'm really hoping to help validate other people's either their encounters, because if they're going through what I'm going through in some different ways of not being able to comprehend or understand what they're seeing, it's good to talk to somebody. I mean, it really is. You could say, okay, there's two nut jobs talking to each other, but that's not how it is. I don't judge anybody. And, if the encounters come in, at least we can talk about it. And it doesn't have to go public. It doesn't have to go into a book or a documentary or anything like that, but it's good for me, because what I do is I do have my own database, and I do keep track of where some sightings are. And that kind of helps me kind of learn the behavior of what I'm researching out there. So they can get a hold of me on my website, and you can find me on Facebook. I also have a page on Facebook, Jay Bachochin Hunting the Truth. I have a Finding Jay Facebook. So just kind of look it up. And I try to update all three of them. And I update my website as well.
We did get another question in. Do you have any book requests about Wisconsin crypts? Maybe book recommendations?
Oh, there's maybe not so much in maybe not so much in Wisconsin. There are some good ones by Linda Godfrey. Definitely check out her library because she has an extensive she's been doing this since 2009, 2008, and just starting to write books and getting those out there. I got to do a shout out though to Ron Moorhead, who wrote The Quantum Bigfoot. And that's a really unique way of looking into it because there are different sides, even in this field. You would say if you believe in Bigfoot, all the Bigfoot believers get along and play nicely. But at the same time, there are some people that just want to believe that it's flesh and blood and it's just a primate we haven't caught up to. And then there are some, like me, that say they are flesh and blood, but maybe they have more abilities. And I think that's where the Quantum Bigfoot from Ron Moorhead is really, really a good read. And again, I'll never diss Wisconsin native, Linda Godfrey with her books because I own just about every one of them and they're really, really good. And Whitewater is also included in those.
Actually, the person amended their question and they said they meant to say Wisconsin cryptids. Does that make sense? Cryptids?
Yeah. Okay. Books. Yeah. What Wisconsin crypts? I actually read that as cryptids. So.
Okay.
Yeah. So the cryptids would be anything like Dogman, Bigfoot, Mothman. Chad Lewis in Wisconsin as well has some really good books to check out. So go visit their websites. I mean, Chad and Linda, they're both here right in Wisconsin, and they do a lot of extensive search, not only in the cryptids, but as well as paranormal as well.
Yes, we've had Chad do a presentation for us before. He's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. As a matter of fact, I think I wanted to make that one, and who knows? I was probably out chasing shadows or something that night, but I remember that. So yeah.
We got a couple more questions in. Do you think that the Bigfoot recognizes you and knows you?
That's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that's what the case is. I try to wear the same hat. I go out doing the same greetings. People that have hiked with me know I do a certain greeting. And I do by talking of introducing, hey, it's Jay and whoever I'm with. And I do this on an ongoing basis. So, does that make me a Jane Goodall of Wisconsin, Jay Goodall? But I'm hoping that's what the case is to be recognized. And maybe that's why I'm still able to talk about it, even being out in some hair-raising situations out there, still living to tell the tale. So I believe, yes, long-winded answer. I believe they do recognize me, my face, my smell, everything.
Somebody commented, there is a road in that area and there is a beast of the name of the road. Have you ever investigated this beast?
Is that the Beast of Bray Road?
Perhaps, yeah.
I would imagine.
Person wants to clarify that.
Well, I've always heard about the Beast of Bray Road, but in fact, I probably believed in that before I believed in Bigfoot because I've heard of that story being here in Wisconsin. The way to really investigate it, again, these are all private owned farmland, so you can't just get off the beaten path off the road because you're trespassing. So I never recommend to do that. But there are side roads, and there's some people that I know. Maybe you've seen them with me on Travel Channel, Lee Hample, up there. He's adjacent to Bray Road, and there's a lot of weirdness that's going on there. The beast has definitely been on his property, and so many other weird things. So when people think of the beast, they think of flesh and blood primate, just like a bear, a wolf, or a coyote. Now there's so much more to what's going on out there. I don't know if anybody's heard of the Skinwalker Ranch, but this would be definitely a part 2 here in Wisconsin. So that's how I would investigate it. Is I know somebody that we're good friends, and that allows me to look on his property in the adjacent Bray Road. That's how I do it.
What will you do if you and Bigfoot come face to face?
Yeah, people ask me that question all the time, and I try not to be too funny about it, but I'd probably drop to the ground and get into a fetal position and, call for my mommy. No, maybe I wouldn't, but I do believe that it would be, I guess I want to be prepared for it, because ideally that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to make contact, and, not just to document, try to prove to the world, try to get the $1 million shot. But that's what I want. And a couple of years ago, I think I had that opportunity when me and Chris were out there in the dark one night. It just got done raining, so you just hear the rainfalls coming off the branches, but it wasn't raining, and it was dark, almost pitch dark. And he wanted to do a wood knock. I'm like, yeah, go for it. So he goes about 10 feet away from me, knocks on a tree, and I actually closed my eyes to try to listen for a reply of a knock back. Now, I don't know why I closed my eyes. It was dark. But when I did that, it helped me focus in. And right behind me, I heard what sounded like 3 bipedal steps. And it ended up on my left. It was like right behind me. Now, you could say, let your imagination go run wild with you. But I've already been out in the woods late and everything. So I don't know what it was, but I couldn't move. I couldn't speak. I couldn't motion to Chris. That one kind of messed me up for a good month after, because I don't think I was ready. So your question of seeing it face to face, I'd be honest saying, I'm supposed to be a man and supposed to confront that, but whatever this was scared me to my core. I was a petrified statue, and maybe I wasn't ready for that contact. And that was not even face to face. That was something standing behind me. So now we're talking about face to face and looking at something that could be 8 foot, 9 foot, going to look at me and smile, and I'm going to be in disbelief. I want to say that I'd probably crumble to the ground first, but I'd get up, face the fears. So I say, we'll see.
Have you ever investigated the fabled Paradise Road near Jefferson?
You know what? I haven't. I've heard of it. I haven't gone down there. I've been on Hogsback up near Holy Hill. There's a lot of different areas, because a lot of times people ask me, where do I go? And I don't legend trip. I hear about these places, and that's great, but my calling is the Kettle Moraine, and I have so many different areas that I visit. I kind of use it on a rotation, and I just like to be out there, because I think all these things are real. But that's the kid inside me with Frankenstein, Wolfman, and these things could happen. My imagination is still there, so I do believe they're still out there, even though I hear about these places. Maybe one day I will get to that, because people say, hey, if you ever find Bigfoot, what's next? And I said, probably unicorns. I don't know. The Bigfoot's crazy enough, so why not try for something like that? But no, I have not been on that road yet, but I have heard about it.
This person says, I know you said you never go alone, but what if Bigfoot is waiting for you to be alone to make contact?
That's a great question. Here's the thing. I always say this, and this is hard for a lot of people to understand, and maybe some would understand. But my wife said, if I ever go out in the woods alone and I die, she'll kill me. So, but I agree. I mean, it's a great question because it's one that I don't do because I think I'm so safety conscious that I always say you hike in a pair, and not because of Bigfoot, but I'm saying anything, people, animals, or what, or you fell down, you hit your head, and you're deep in the woods. Who's gonna even know you're there? Who could? So that's kind of my mentality. But getting to this question is that's all that possibility, and I think I'm going to be heading to that direction. Like I said about my equipment, trying to strip off the equipment and maybe mix it up a little bit and do something different. So I'll definitely let you know if something's out there, even though I will have no recording of it. I'll let you know if something happens.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Jay. We did have another comment come in. It seems like Bigfoot believes in people. I wonder why it is so hard for people to believe in them.
Well, you know what? That is I always, whenever you come up with a question or statement like that, and again, that goes for Bigfoot throwing rocks, leaving prints, knocking on trees. Nobody's ever seen a Bigfoot do that. So to be able to say Bigfoot believes in people, I don't know, because I haven't seen a Bigfoot that's actually sitting there going, I care about you. I don't know, but I would believe that maybe there's a few of us that are chosen to do this. And I mean, there's a lot of researchers that are just as dedicated to get out there to find the truth, not the $1 million shot. Everybody has different techniques. I have mine, and they might be strange to some other techniques, but it doesn't make mine right or wrong. Does it make theirs right or wrong? We're all shooting for the same goal, is trying to find out what the truth is, trying to make contact some way. So, but I do like that question though. Why can't people believe in them? You know what? There's a few of us that do, right? So we're the lucky ones.
Great. Thank you so much, Jay. Do you have a release date for your next documentary?
I don't, not an exact one yet, but don't quote me on this, but I guess this is live, so you can say this. I'm looking for April 2020, 2022. And it's not going to be April 1st because that would be April Fool's joke on everybody. But I'd like to say no later than April 30th. But I'm definitely I want to push this out because this story is going to be so compelling, because it's not just about Sasquatch. Well, it is, but there's so much more to it that I've uncovered, that this one is definitely going to be one for the books, I could tell you. So just keep up to date on my website, on Facebook or whatever. So
Great. Thanks so much. Thank you for your presentation and for sharing all of your knowledge with us tonight. I know that the attendees really enjoyed it. So thank you.
well, you're very welcome. Thank you for having me on. You have a good night.
All right. Thank you. We'll go ahead and end it there.